Welcome back. Today we are going to learn aggregation functions, which are super useful. Until now, you've always queried the data and you got multiple rows, right? Like for example, when you said like select revenue from food.fastfood, then you're going to get a bunch of rows and a bunch of revenues, and then you could filter them by having a where statement, right? Now we have something called aggregation functions. Aggregation functions are very useful because it allows you to aggregate the data and get an insightful metric out of it. And we're going to be working with 5 different aggregation methods. So there's an aggregation method called count, which counts how many rows are in a particular column. And sum, it adds together all the values in a particular column. And then min-max, which returns the lowest and highest values in a particular column, respectively. And then average, AVG, calculates the average of a group of selected values. All right, so let's look at an example here. So what I've done here is I selected from the table food, fast food, and I only care about restaurants that the name contains the word pizza. So I'm guessing all pizza stores. And now, as you can see here, this is where the magic happens. I used the aggregation function count here, and I put a 1 in there. Now, count's a little bit special. Usually when you count, it just counts the number of rows. And what I do is I usually put a 1 or a star or a column name in there to tell it what to count. Here, I put 1 to say that each row counts as 1. When I do a star, it's almost exactly the same thing. It just counts the row. And then if I put the name on there, it also counts how many rows of that column there are. It's not about uniqueness. So even if you have multiple of the same name, for example, if you have a table with 2 restaurants named Burger King, then you're still going to get 2 for this aggregation function. And then here, sum, it sums up all the rows on the column revenue. So for example, if you had 3 rows, one of the row made $2, another row made another $2, and then the last row made $3, then you're going to get $7 as your result. And how many rows are you going to get your resulting table? You're actually going to only get 1 row because we are aggregating all these rows, and then in the end what you're going to get is a single row that tells you the count and the sum of the revenue. It's probably a lot easier if I look at an example. So here we have 3 questions that we're going to try to answer using mode. Let me take this out. So the first one is how many states are there in the table city population? All right, so first let's query from city population and then see what kind of columns there are. So as you see, there's city, there's states, population. It's actually pretty easy. It already says we have 50 rows, but let's assume that it doesn't tell us. Then how would you get the number of states? We remember that there was a count function, and we could say, what do I want to count? I want to count the number of states, okay? And then that's it. And then you run that, and it's going to give you 50. So it's called count, but just like these custom columns, you can add as, and then you could give it whatever name you want, like num states for number of states. You run that, and here you go. You get 50. Now it's the same thing if you do star. It will give you 50. It just means the whole row. Or 1. This gives you the same thing too. It means 1 per row. Yep, 50. And then out of curiosity, let's see what happens if we put a 2 there. It's still 50. Why? Because what you're essentially doing is, imagine if you had all the columns of city population, and then you had 1 or 2. And then these are separate rows, and then the value is just 1 and 2. As you can see, now at the end, you have column 1 and column 2. Like we could call this as 1. The column name is 1, as 2, whatever column name. So we named this column called 2 column name, and we named this column 1. So as you can see, they're literally just values, and then they're just 1s everywhere, right? So that's why when you did count 1, it's essentially the same thing as counting all of these values. So now you're just counting them. As you can see, they're not unique. They're all 1s, but you still count them individually. So even if it's 2, then it still gives you 50. one more exercise just to make sure you understand. If I do count hello as count name, then if I run this, it's still going to give me 50. Oops, sorry, single quotes. Ha, okay, excellent. So now that you know how count works, let's go on to the next question. What is the total population of all the cities in the city population? Well, let's look at it again. Let's see, count from city population, and then we run this. And then as you can see, there is a column named population estimate. Let's use that. And then this time, instead of count, what do we want to do? We want to sum, because we want to add them together. So we're going to add population estimate, run it. Let's see what we get. And then we get this big number, which is 47 million, 48 million. So out of all of these cities, there are 48 million people. All right, excellent. So now you know how to use sum. Let's try another table. Let's do Apple historical stock prices. Let's select that, see what it gives us. All right, okay, so you get date, year, month, open, high, low. So we're just gonna use the open price here. And what do we want? What is the average open price of Apple throughout like the whole table? Then remember, we have the aggregation function average, and what do we want? The open price as open price, maybe average open price. And then we run this. The average open price is 164.78. Oh, excellent. So just out of curiosity, what was the max open price of Apple? And what was the min open price of Apple? So we're going to change these columns. So open, I'll just call it max price, and min price. Okay. All right, let's try this. Just out of curiosity. Oh, wow. So the max price was 702, and then average open price was 164. So as you can see, there's a considerable amount of growth. Min price is 0, but there might be some bugs where, because 0 doesn't really make much sense. So let's just filter that out, where min price is not equal 0. Oops, sorry, not that. Where open price is not 0. So what's happening here is you have to think about what gets done first. So first you're selecting a bunch of rows that you need from this table, and then you're filtering them. Open is not equal 0. So now you're filtering all the values that have the open price of 0, and then you're aggregating the average, max, and min. So now, okay, remember that your average price is 164. Now that we have this condition, this filter, open equals 0, what do you think will happen with the average price? It's probably going to go up, because now we are excluding all of the rows that had open price of 0. So let's remember 164.78. Let's run this again. It should be more than 164 if there are a lot of zeros. See, now it's 165. So what happened was you took out all the zeros. Now, out of curiosity, how many of those rows were 0? Just so that I can kind of understand how many rows I am taking out, how many rows I filtered out, where open equals 0. So now I care about zeros. I just want to see how many rows had 0 as open price. Oh, just 6 of them. Okay, that's why it was a minimal difference. Anyways, let's run this again. So what is the min price? The min price was $6.05. Excellent. All right, so the next question is, what was the highest open price of Apple on the year of 2014? So first, what do we need? We're going to select, and then we care about the highest, so max of open. That would give us the max from the Apple stock table. And then this is going to give us 702. Let's just make sure, because that's what we did last time. Yeah, 702. But this time we cared about in 2014. So how do we do that? We filter by the year. Year equals 2014. I'm not sure if it was a string or a number. Let's see if this works. Okay, great, this works. Aha. So the highest price of Apple in the year of 2014 is 555. Okay, excellent. And what was the minimum? Just out of curiosity. And also, what was the average? Okay, maximum, minimum. So not a huge variance, and an average is usually pretty high. So yep, there you go. This was the highest open price of Apple on the year of 2014. That's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one.